Great. Well, happy summer to everybody. Great to be with you all. And thanks for joining us in this online only session. We do have quite a number of updates, but don't have any featured speakers for this month. So we may be able to wrap this up fairly quickly. Thanks to everybody for joining us. I did want to make sure we have an opportunity, as always, to do a little exchange to get to know one another. We'll provide some quick announcements and then give you an update from our prior meeting about the Flamingosaurus. There's been some good follow-up action since our last meeting. I want to provide an opportunity for one of our folks to share out about their experience with our acting police commissioner in that meeting this past Saturday, and then give you a number of updates about zoning and liquor license. And I believe we have our new sergeant, who's our community liaison with Baltimore Police. So make sure you have an opportunity to meet that individual as well. And then when we can wrap up. So that's what we have. If there's something, if you have a burning topic you want to make sure that we talk about, please go ahead and put it in the chat so that we can cover that. So, all right. Well, without further delay, let's go ahead. It looks like there's about just over 20 of us in the room. So if you would kindly, type in the chat, greeting to one another, and I would say feel free to share what's on your mind about our community of late. So what's a topic that, so is that safety? Is that partnering on different art projects? Is it something with educational folks in Hampden? What's the topic that's on your mind of late?
Tell you what, that's 9 something here.
All right, a couple more folks coming in. So go ahead and use your chat and type to one another what is something that's been on your mind about our community. Evan, great. Hello, everyone. Excited to hear about housing and community building. Carrie, howdy neighbors. I just want to know if when BGE is going to dig up my street. Yep. Michael Berlin is the person that we'll hear from about the meeting this past Saturday with our acting commissioner. How are local businesses? We're glad to have Libby, so maybe she can address that question.
See, looks like a shark.
Great. Drew, Keswick Road resident for 6 years, wondering about commercial wellness. Yep. Thanks for that. Dan, Falls Road reconstruction again. Yep. Tom wants to thank HCC for donation to the parade. Yep, we donated $1,000. Looking for a sponsor for the Marching Ravens Band. Excellent. Thanks, Tom, for that. What else? What else is on people's minds? Besides summer vacation, and hopefully folks are getting a chance to take a little break, get away from the neighborhood for a little bit. School supply drive starting this week. Thanks. Rachel and Gerald, welcome. Yep, safety and issues related to the park. Yep, absolutely. Katrina from the Hampden Christian School. Katrina, great to have you. Welcome back too. Great. Thanks to everybody for typing in. Looks like there are about 23 of us online tonight. All right. Well, let me launch into some updates for you. And may I ask, are you seeing on my screen just the slides, or also the screens with the chat and participants?
I just see your 18 cents.
All of the above. Okay, great. That's helpful to know. All right, I'm going to move the participants down so you can see the slides more easily, but this will hopefully still let me know if folks are entering the room. Tim, thanks for sharing your interest about making 41st Street safer for pedestrians. And Tom says he's not getting video. Yes, it's just the screen sharing at the moment. All right, let me take you to some updates. Libby, do you want to hop on audio to make a pitch for the first item?
Yeah, thank you. So Hampden's First Friday Shop Crawl, as you all can see, we are actually using this summer to reinvigorate the whole First Fridays thing for our Merchants Association. And have over the last couple of months, we every first Friday have not only been offering specials at a number of the different retail stores, but we've had live musical entertainment as well as a raffle and a sorry,
We can still hear you.
Okay, anyway, and yeah, so it's a really great opportunity to come out, check out the merchants and what we have for specials. I've got lots of other news of upcoming events, including Hampden Fest. So I'll just leave it at that and move on to whatever else you want to, Christina, and I'll fill up the rest of the time later.
Okay, great. Thanks, Libby, so much. For those of you who don't know, Libby is our liaison with the Hampden Village Merchants Association, and has played that role for many years. So thanks, Libby, for that. The other is just a friendly reminder that so this first week of August, the 4th and 5th, you can get to Sisson Street to deposit those what's considered household hazardous waste. That things that are not usually accepted will be accepted on those 2 dates. So things like paint, batteries. I don't know if you're like myself, I have a little collection of batteries that I keep meaning to bring in. So anyway, this is your time. So that's available for you 4th and 5th of August. All right. Did want to also say thanks to everybody who came out. I know there's some folks on the call you might see yourself in the background here of this photo. So thanks to everybody who came out for the happy hour to get to know some of your neighbors. It was a really great opportunity to get to connect with folks. The board all agreed we definitely want to do this again. Probably earlier in the fall, early October, something like that. We loved getting to spend time with everybody. So huge shout out to Joe in particular, but all of the HCC board members who made that happen. I was delighted to just basically show up and get to enjoy the event. So kudos to everybody for that. All right. So Michael, would you like to come off of mute and share with us sorry, just get this off of our screen. Share about the meeting with Baltimore City Police Department Acting Commissioner Worley. This was a meeting that Councilwoman Ramos put together for certain leaders within District 14. We're really grateful for the opportunity. So Michael, go ahead and
can you hear me?
Kindly share with us. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So one, I found the meeting really interesting. It was just nice to see people from different communities, that there was a wide variety of communities from the 14th Council District, and to hear their different concerns. And while some of the communities had different concerns, there were some common themes. And the common themes primarily concerned crime, particularly more minor to moderate crimes, and certain traffic concerns, speeding on Cold Spring Lane, out-of-state tags in Remington. So, but I would say the primary concerns focused on minor to moderate crime. Break-ins of vehicles was a big one. Other larcenies or thefts. One common concern that emerged was the need for data. A number of communities, including ours, have concerns with regard to crime data. And so for me personally, and a few folks commented on the staffing levels of the police department, and apparently it sounded from what the commissioner said, we're going to end up dropping slightly under 2,000 sworn officers before the end of this year. And then he talked about efforts to retain officers for lateral transfers from other agencies and to recruit new officers. So there was a lot of talk about, attracting new officers. My own personal observation, I drive from Hampden to West Baltimore multiple times a week for work, and I hardly ever see police officers now where I used to see an awful lot. But again, I feel very safe in the neighborhood, so I haven't had particular concerns, but I would like to know about crime in the neighborhood and where it's occurring, what's occurring, and that seemed to be common to other neighborhoods. The commissioner shared that there had been a recent uptick in carjackings in terms of serious crime. So I think one of the follow-ups we're going to do from the meeting is to get more data about crime in the neighborhood. Other communities also raised consultation with the police. Right now, the meetings with the police, and I've been attending pretty regularly, are more informational about a variety of efforts. But I'd like to see a little more about crime in the neighborhoods, getting us the data, and then hopefully working into problem solving, having a more consultative relationship, which was also raised by other communities in terms of us working with the police to solve particular problems. So let me stop there. I think that's a accurate summary. The meeting was scheduled for 1 until 2:30. Christina and I were there until past 3, so it certainly went late. Christina, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'd like to add 2 things. One, I think there was really fantastic engagement. I will share my bias, perhaps prejudice, that I went in unsure what to think, but I left with a pretty positive perspective, which was a little unexpected on my part. So anyway, for whatever that's worth. I did want to share some really positive steps that have happened since Saturday. So I'm really pleased to welcome Sergeant Olivio, who is new to the Northern District. In the past, when I have requested the community liaison officer to join us for a meeting, I've been told that that was not possible because it was outside of their shift time, which really is an unfortunate response, but I'm delighted to share that Sergeant Olivia has been in touch with us. And Sergeant, if you'd like to come off of mute and introduce yourself, we would be pleased for you to do so.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Modesto, and my last name is Olivo. I've been with the department for 23 years, and I'm sorry you have this inconvenience in the past. Hopefully we could work together and have a better relationship. And hopefully I could help you in the ways that you need the help. I'm very accessible. I'm available. If I could pick up your call or your email, if I could check my emails, I will. And I will respond in a timely manner. I just got an email today from Christina and basically took care of her information. And doesn't matter the time that you have a meeting, I will be available, hopefully, as long as I'm not tied up on something else personal or of work. If I could answer any question that is available for me, I will do it.
A quick, easy question for the sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Can you put your department phone number and your email in the chat?
And how you doing, Mike? Nice
Good,
to see you again.
good. And I look forward to working with you. And I have to say, in addition to what our president said, I left the meeting with a real positive outlook. I went in kind of neutral to slightly positive, but I actually was very impressed by the acting commissioner's interaction with all the communities that was there. And I thank Councilman Ramos for setting that up. So, and I definitely look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And it was nice meeting you in person also.
Yeah.
Great. Councilwoman Ramos is also here, so wanted to provide an opportunity. Any key takeaways for you from the session, Councilwoman?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I was very pleased with the turnout. It was great to see most of the communities in the 14th district were represented. We do have a wide range of issues that the district is dealing with, but also a lot of the same. Grateful that Sergeant Olivo, got the message, because I had sent something to the major immediately about that issue, and he was right on it. So I'm grateful for that. So there's still a lot of work to do. Commissioner Worley has a lot of work to do, but he's also got a good team and seems to have a good plan in place moving forward, not just for staffing, but for working with all of the communities as well. So I'm glad that this was their idea to do. We will also start having more District 14 meetings on various, we did, the last time we all worked together was for COVID on the vaccine initiative. So we want to do more together. I thought it was a great gathering, and I appreciate Christina and Michael being there. Thank you so much.
Great. Any, since we had the sergeant here, any quick questions or comments that folks wanted to share? I know that Rachel, you had some concerns around Roosevelt Park. Did you want to just, I know we won't be able to resolve them today, but did you want to just give a brief summaries for awareness at this point?
Oh, sure. Hi, everyone. There was an event in Roosevelt Park a few weeks ago on a Saturday, live concerts that went until 11 p.m. And, we hadn't known about it. It wasn't advertised, and we were just wondering, who was in charge of concerts and live events in the skate park. So we were just curious about that and what the policies were about amplified music and such, and what the, about getting permits and what the hours for noises at that level were. So.
And I understand that, so I think that's perhaps less of a police issue, but I know that there was also another concern around the use of dirt bikes, well, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot more dirt bikes and motorbikes in the skate park as well. And we've tried to, call 311 when that happens.
Great.
Just real quick on the event issue, I don't think the councilman is on. His office may have known about it because the Department of Rec and Parks is supposed to let us know. They don't always do that. But generally noise ordinance begins at 11. Normally, though, they have folks shut down at 10, so we'd have to check in on what happened there. And I can certainly let the councilman know that you're concerned about, in the future, if there's going to be other permitted events. Sometimes there are events that happen that are not permitted. And so if there's an issue, then usually the police can shut it down. So I just don't know the case on this one, but I can get back to you.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
Also, in regards to an event that they don't have a permit, if you let us know before they started, or when you see they're setting it up, we will take care of it. Just call 911 in reference to it.
Okay,
Okay. And also, as you know, on Thursday, we were in Roosevelt Park in regards to the homeless encampment, which we're working on that right now.
okay.
Okay. And Mike was present at the time, so we are basically, like I say, we will work on in any kind of issue that we have, and we will try to resolve it.
Sergeant, I'm wondering, are you a Spanish speaker?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm delighted to hear that, because there are some of our residents are primarily Spanish speakers. So even more of a reason to welcome you to the neighborhood. Just really glad for your responsiveness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and I appreciate it. And it was a pleasure being here. I will follow up with you later on. And like I said, you got my number and you also got my email. And
Great.
you're welcome to contact me or text me or email me.
Terrific. Well, thanks again. We welcome you to stay on the line if you're interested in hearing what else is happening, but no, you probably have other family commitments. So thanks again for being with us, and we look forward to working together.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. All right. So in terms of what's happening in Hampden overall, thanks to Dave Stiesley for helping us get a graphic together. You can see by the kind of bricks here, there's actually quite a lot happening with zoning and land use. We do have an active case with a liquor license that we can share about a little bit later, and then of course the art project at Roosevelt Park. So let's go into that a little bit. So you'll recall from our last meeting, we had the artist come join us and share the proposal. And so we had quite a bit of back and forth and ultimately decided not to take a vote because we were not yet supportive of the proposed location. Let me move the visuals here so you can see. So this is, if you're standing at the corner of 36 is over here and Falls Road is over here. When you go into the entrance of Roosevelt Park, this is where the artist was formerly proposing to bring the new improved Flamingosaurus sculpture. And we heard in the last meeting that that would really interfere with how the park is currently being used, particularly by the Hampden community, I beg your pardon, the Hampden Christian School. And so we asked for two things to happen before we took a vote here. And those two things were, number one, consulting with the residents on 36th Street, particularly about the lights. So there was question about whether this would be disruptive for the residents there. And we heard from Randall that the proposed lighting would actually just be a 10th of what street lights currently are. He has not yet fully connected with the residents on 36th Street, but committed to do so before coming back for a vote on our support in September. The second piece was really an important one, which was consulting with the Hampden Christian School about specifically their leadership, about how they use the park so that any proposal would not be disruptive to them. And so that meeting took place late last week. It was a very productive meeting. And what I understand from hearing a report out of that meeting is that Randall is no longer proposing that original site, which if you take an aerial view, it used to be here. So again, this is Falls Road and 36th Street. So the ACE school is down the road over here. You come in the park here. So he's proposing that it go either up here at the entrance or further closer to the rec center. If Kathy Crampian is online, this is potentially where a temporary, what do you call it? Not a bandstand, but a stage might go. So this would require some further conversation. So this is another view of that. So it really will depend on a ground study and the structural engineer's assessment of what are the requirements for the base. So these are the two proposed sites. Randall is working on a 3D model to be able to better explain what he's thinking. And so stay tuned for more information on that. But we were really pleased about this because it's a great example of how the HCC can be a real convening point for folks to help connect people so that projects can benefit the community, and we can make sure that stakeholders are working together on things like this. So that's the update. Before we move on, any questions on that topic?
Just a very quick question on that. I take it that he hasn't lined up funding yet, that he needs to do a little further planning before possibly applying for funding and our approval.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So he received, I believe it's a $10,000 grant that is just a planning grant. And so he's not at the stage of actually raising funds for the actual new and revised sculpture, but really is working on confirming community support and understanding what are the steps that would be required by the city in order to put something like this in place. So at this point, he has the funding that he needs for the planning, and funding for the sculpture itself would be in the future. Other questions about this before we move on? Okay, great. All right, then let me share my screen again. Go ahead.
Sorry, Christina, Dan here. I did post something on the chat about, I think, option 2, based on past trash cleanups, has a lot of debris piling up in that area. So that, I don't know if that will help or inhibit it in that way. Otherwise, if we develop a theater there, then less. So some as well. That's all.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I mean, I think that area gets a lot of use. I mean, the good news is that parks are for people, and they are being used. All right. Okay, let me share my screen and we could go on to our next topic. All right, so we're now into the zoning palooza, the zoning part of our time together. So wanted to give you some updates on some new things. So we just saw that there's a new filing for 3851 Falls Road. And this is for a property to be used as a body art studio. So you'll recognize that this is quite close to Wicked Sisters. No involvement on our part. If folks could kindly use the chat to let me know if you have questions, concerns, want to voice support for something, that'd be really helpful. This one is fairly straightforward, I think. So that's the first one. The second one is a bit more complicated. So this is zoning that is for a new house. So you'll see on the picture that this is a vacant lot. So the hearing date was actually put in quite quickly. So the file date was at the beginning of July. Hearing date is at the beginning of September. The plans are currently in for review with the city. What's being proposed is something that would be between these two. And the idea was that it would actually bump up against each of them. It seems like that may not be what ends up happening. I understand that it is from an email exchange with the builder, Jesse Bloomberg, who is considering whether he might live there, TBD. And so you'll see that there's a height differential between these two properties. He is asking for it to look much more similar to this structure. So it's 3 stories instead of the 2 that are on this side. And he thinks that it will adjoin, so it'll be more like a duplex situation. I have asked that we make sure that there's time in between when they get the review comments back from the city and when they move forward to the zoning board. And so we'll be looking for a time when we can connect with the neighbors in the surrounding area on Hickory for them to be able to ask questions about the construction and then get those answered so that we can write a letter in support or talk with them about any concerns. I'm going to look at the chat real quick because this is planning will be briefing me on the Falls property tomorrow. Okay, thanks, Councilman. Okay, so this one is a pretty live concern, many emails back and forth on this particular one. This next one is also to use the basement level premises as a body art space. No involvement on our part to date. Did want to give you the ending of the story for this property. So we shared with you several meetings ago that this property on Elm Avenue, they were looking to construct a 2-story addition. This was denied. And I think that may be the end of the zoning.
Can I
Okay.
talk about that for a second?
Yes, please.
So this property got unfortunately tied up with how the zoning board is operating in a different manner. So this block and the one and Darby behind it are zoned R7. And all of the other neighbors who have asked for extensions have been able to get them in the past because there was no opposition. And so the zoning board said, sure, you can have it because there's been no opposition. The problem is it violated what were called the bulk regulations. And so what's happening now is that the zoning board is no longer just saying, oh, there's no opposition, so yes, you can have it. They're looking at every single thing. And so these 2 blocks, if residents want to do an extension, if you don't have them right now, you won't be able to do it.
You will or will not be able to do
will
it?
Will not under an R7 zoning because of how the bulk regulations, which is basically the square footage, the percentage of the building that is on the lot. Okay, you can only have 50% of the building on the total lot in an R7. So in talking, and this is unfortunate for this homeowner because you know, he wanted to have his parents move in with him and all of this. But a lot of the other properties on both of these blocks already have extensions because they were already done under the old way that the zoning board has been working. So I've been talking with the homeowner there. The only way to resolve this problem on these 2 blocks is to rezone it to R8 because the more of the percentage of the property will be allowed on the actual physical structure would be allowed on the property. And that all of the other properties that already have extensions would then become legal. So my first step is to talk to the residents on those 2 blocks first, and then come back to HCC to see if that's something that would be okay with the organization. And part of Hampden is R7, part of Hampden is R8. So it's not inconsistent. It doesn't change the fact that you have to go through an ordinance to do any conversions. The only thing that changes is the percentage of the actual building that can be on the lot.
You happen to know, I know this is a nitpicky detail, but do you happen to know the percentage for either R7 or R8?
So for R7, it's like 50%. For R8, it's closer to 75.
Okay. Thanks. That's, I feel like as a community, we're definitely growing in our knowledge about how all of this works, the zoning regulations. So thank you.
But again, the key here is the fact that the zoning board is no longer going to just let stuff through because there's no opposition. Okay.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So that's unfortunately how this gentleman was caught up in all of this, because back in the day, this wouldn't have been an issue. So back in the day, like 3 months ago. So we are trying to figure out the best way to do this. As the councilman put in the chat, we are also discussing if there can be degrees of amendments, like minor amendments versus major, which is what we do in PUDs and some other things to resolve this problem citywide. So rather than like zoning, like changing the zoning on every on every block or whatever that this is impacted. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk with the residents first before coming to HCC, but since we had it on the agenda, I wanted to make sure that you knew the background.
Great. Thanks, Councilwoman, for that context. It's helpful. Good. Just checking out the okay, just checking out the chat to see if there was something there. All right. There were other development updates. These are bigger picture ones. So you'll recall the ongoing, I think it's been 2 years now, we've been talking about the 4001 Falls Road development that is now slated as a restaurant. The short summary is that suppose he's not the owner, he's the gentleman who's seeking to move forward with a restaurant, has until early September to finish construction. We think it's unlikely that that will be completed at that time. So this is a wait and see situation. Any Councilwoman, any takeaways that you want to share more broadly with the residents in Hampden on this one?
Yeah, there's a lot of drama on this one, but basically back in December, they were approved for their liquor license, but they didn't move forward on any construction. And so they were granted another 90 days, but because they hadn't moved forward on any construction, there's just no way that they can do it. So the liquor license, once a liquor license is approved, they have to get their use and occupancy within 180 days. Otherwise, they have to start the process over again. So they asked for a hardship extension for 90 days. There's no way they're going to get it done. So we will see how they're going to redo the process, whether it's getting a whole new licensee, whether it's, getting, we're just not sure. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. I mean, that's sort of the latest. I mean, the big long story is 2 years in the making, but that's where we are at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like part of that longer story for me has been just being really impressed with the residents in that kind of triangular area of Hampden.
Yeah.
And their Yep, just their persistence in writing letters, showing up at meetings. So that I feel like that's
And
the
frankly,
story.
willingness to compromise, like when we started negotiating
Yes.
again
Yes.
the second time,
Yeah.
they did come closer, and we
Yeah.
got down to one issue that ended up being the problem. And so I think you're right. They've really done a great job. So this is a waiting game right now. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. A really impressive story within a story on that one. Since you're speaking, any update on the parking lot across from the wine source?
Yes, so the variance to make that a parking lot will be on oh no, we passed it on third reader, so it has passed the city council. It is we a few months ago had a meeting with David who owns the wine source, and the residents on the 3600 blocks of Elm and Roland on those sides that abut the parking lot. And David really listened to their concerns. And so he is working on a different plan. And I don't know all the details yet, but as soon as we have new drawings, we will bring them before the Hampden Community Council. But he definitely took their input to heart in terms of the worry about traffic going up the alley and a few other things, noise, lighting. So I'm grateful for David to take the extra time. So that will not be at all ready for the holidays at all. But the intent is definitely to still use that area for a lot, but it will be very different. So when we have the plans, we'll send them to you.
Great, thanks. So then over to Councilman Torrance, specifically about the development on Falls Road. If I understand correctly, you put something in the chat referring to this.
Yeah, so I have my monthly meeting with planning. So we're trying to discuss a number of developments happening, from someone adding a screened-in porch to, as well as this development that's happening for the BMZA. So it's still the conversation about those minor variances that are coming up in those conversations, with not only the screened-in porch that is off of Pool Street, but in addition to this, it's pretty much straightforward. I just wanted to make sure planning crossed their I's and dotted their T's. So I'll be meeting with Marie and her team tomorrow regarding those.
Great.
So,
and Councilman, question for you. I know that you agreed to a morning connection at the rec center around the development on Falls Road, but wanted to confirm, did you have you heard back from the rec center if that if their space is available for that time?
no. So they're asking if we can go later into August, which I have to queue back up to make sure. So we're looking probably after August 19th. I'm just being transparent, which will give us enough time to put advertising out. So, but it's also
okay, so we should hold off on announcing the date of the 12th.
Yeah, because it looks like we might be shooting for August 19th in the morning.
I see. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Um,
let's definitely be in touch on that
Yeah.
in the future. Okay, let me get through a last couple of things, and then let's loop back around to some questions. I think particularly for Councilman Torrance. So that's the end of the zoning section. Any questions about zoning related piece? Let's see.
Not zoning per se, but just any idea any plans for that Bank of America building on the avenue?
No,
I'm not
I don't.
aware.
I'm not aware of the plans with any of the Bank of America buildings, except for the one over here in Charles Village. But they've closed a bunch of them, so I do not know what they're planning on doing with them.
Thanks.
Great. All right. Did want to make sure folks were aware of some things that are percolating in the background. So several of the HCC board members are working with a resident on a website refresh, so stay tuned on that. We're talking about a partnership with someone from the Hampden Village Merchant Association about a welcome package for new residents. So that's pretty exciting. Talking about another HCC social this fall. And Katrina, who's on this call, is has been leading us in an idea around a collaboration among the ACE School, the Hampden Christian School, and HCC for a mural project that I'm really excited about. So that's in the idea phase, but we're having conversations across the different entities. So you can't quite see below my screen here, but the question is, what is your interest? How are you interested in supporting our community and helping us to move up our game in the future? So if any of these projects sound interesting to you, please let us know. Type in the chat. I'd be happy to connect you with the HCC board member who's working on this most closely. We welcome the participation of residents in each of these projects. And then also, if you have an idea for something that you'd like to see, please let us know. We'd love to help connect you with folks in the community and see that moving forward. So thanks on that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's go with questions that are in the chat. So let's see. There was a question for Councilman Torrance about, let me go back to it. Rachel, do you want to pose your question?
Sure, thanks. Hi, Councilman Torrance. I had sent an email about the Skate Fest event in the skate park. I guess it was on July 15th. There was a loud concert in the in the skate park the entire day, and it went to 11 o'clock, and I had called about it. I was just wondering what the policies were about amplified music in the skate park. We noticed that they kept playing after all the lights went out in the park and in the skate park and in the park overall. So I just wondered about that and what kind of notice residents in the area were given when events like that took place, because we didn't know about it.
Good question. I am still waiting from our friends at DOT about the actual permits that were pulled for Skate Fest. So this goes back to the question of whether or not they had approval from the health department for amplified sound. Because with amplified sound, there would need to be a letter of support from neighboring community members as well as the community association and others about it. So I'm still waiting for the documents. Once I get the documents,
Okay.
I could send you to the proper people who actually supported the amplified sound so you can have a conversation with them to be transparent. Because if it went, so technically we don't do festivals in our parks whenever the parks would typically be closed. So parks close at dusk. Most festivals typically end. The only exceptions we've ever made for that was for the Caribbean Festival in Druid Hill Park. And then also the AFRAM in Druid Hill Park, because they were not that close to, the sound was not that close to residential properties.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I
So it
hope
sounds like this was an
question.
unusual situation.
More so, the chief of that division for special events is unpacking what our team got, and then they have to go through. This is a part of, as everyone's seen, the conversations we've had around unpermitted events in wake of the Brooklyn mass shooting. So we're literally deep diving into every time we get a complaint, we send it in to them. And right now, even my staff is coming up with a list of what we know are unpermitted events that happen every year in our district, so that they are up on the radar of the mayor's office as well as special events, to make sure that people have it, to the point where like we are going to, for some of these events, eat the costs for some of the services so that we make sure that they are safe.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions for councilman or for councilwoman?
Christina.
Yes. Hi, Mary Rose.
Hi, we had a question for Councilman Torrance in the 1400 block of West 37th Street. We're told that the regulators, the BGE regulators have already been installed and they've already resurfaced our road. But we're told that BGE is coming back because there is a gas leak at one of the 1400 block residences, and it's been over a month that they've told us they're coming back.
Yeah,
Can you give
so
us a status, please?
so BGE is confirming whether or not it is in fact a gas leak, but also whether or not they need to perform the work, because it might be something that they can perform internally in the house. So that's what they're trying to confirm.
Okay, well,
So
we've been
that's-
advised of this for 30 days, Councilman Torrance. I mean, do we have a gas leak there in the neighborhood for 30 days?
So my understanding is that there may have been a leak, but there is no gas going into that residential property.
Okay, and
So-
none escaping into the environment in the neighborhood for neighbors?
That is my understanding from my conversations with the project manager.
Okay, so we're not
But I
expecting
can-
any additional work then?
They pre-marked it just in case. So I just have to make sure if they were able to get in touch with the persons whose service is impacted, and whether or not they have come to the conclusion that it is something that needs to be taken care of. So once I have that, I'll reach out to you. Is it fine if I email at your work email, or do you want me to send it to your other email? I just want to make sure.
Either one is fine, Councilman. I get them both. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No
We're,
worries, but-
concerned. We don't want to have
Yeah.
additional work, but safety is the bigger issue.
Safety is a bigger issue. And then because right now what's happening is our street cuts division, the DOT, has been going back and forth with all the partners in our area. So for persons who are near Atomic comic books, you will notice that there was recently a disruption of their new repaved road. That was a mistake on the city's part because the conduit system needed updating, and they did not get the actual contract out in time before BG&E did the actual repaving. So now the city has to pay to do curb to curb again for that section. So that's going to be another disruption coming into probably looking in October, because I'm trying to get them to delay the entire repaving so after Hampden Festival. So the other goal is for you, Mary, is also to make Mary Rose is to make sure that if there is a disruption, it's in and out for them
Okay.
for that one, because they will have to do repaving again. And the
Do you know
goal is, yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead. I was gonna say, do you know what property they're investigating?
That's what I have to go back through my email. I'm actually not in front of my computer.
Okay,
So I'll have to go back through email and I can exactly know what property. And then I am in the area tomorrow, so I probably can knock that person's door as well.
okay, because there's also two properties there where they refused to have the upgrade. So I don't know if you're talking about those, or there was also another property where they said there was a gas leak. So we
Mhm.
just want to make sure that, everything is appropriate. But thank you very much, Councilman. I'll wait to hear
Yeah.
from you.
No worries.
you.
The last message I received was that one of the properties that was in question did not actually have a physical person living in the property, so they shut off the gas service.
Yeah, I believe that's what did happen on that,
Okay.
the two. Yes, thank you.
A quick follow-up question related to gas meters.
Yes.
Unrelated to that location. I mean, I've got gas and a gas meter in the house. I was following on the news what happened down in Federal Hill. I'm not particularly concerned as long as BG&E pays for it, whether it's internal or external. But are we going to get notice of BG&E's plans? I'm on Chestnut Avenue, and I haven't heard a word about anything to do with gas meters.
The only time that the gas meters get installed is when there's new service. So a lot of Hampden got new gas lines, and so they got the regulators. That's how that works.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And so I get the list, the council gets the list of all of those projects every year. And we get that list in February, so we can, let you know ahead of time. For those that are upset about that piece, there is a hearing before the Public Service Commission on August 15th. I forgot to put it in my newsletter, but I'll put it in for next week if folks are concerned about it. But the regulators do not get installed until there's actual new gas lines.
And just to make it clear, a regulator is not a meter. I just want to make sure.
Correct.
The meter is reading how much usage you have. The regulator, because of I give you the example of what is the neighborhood that had a massive explosion in the 5th district. That's right near Ricetown Plaza. We have regulators because the regulator will then indicate and then shut off the gas going into the home so that it does not cause a mass explosion into the actual building. So that's why they're installing them, because technically it's safer that way to protect everyone else. So that's why they're installing them when they install new gas lines, because that's a direct connection, and then it directly goes into your home through your meter as well to measure it.
Thank you both very much. That didn't come through from the news article, the TV news from Federal Hill, where the couple of women got arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a safety issue that was passed by the General Assembly a couple of years ago because of another explosion that happened. And they got further permission from the Public Service Commission to do individual homes and not just apartments. So obviously there's a lot of controversy around there. Around it, but I think a lot of our constituents are kind of putting it into perspective about that. So yeah, the other thing is that with the new gas lines, the pressure is higher than with the old gas lines. So the new regulators are to, again, regulate that so you don't have a lot of high pressure coming into the house.
Thanks.
Great. So let's hear from other partners. So Libby, over to you first.
All right, folks, we just talked about First Fridays, and I think some of you have already enjoyed the music we've been providing for the First Fridays for the summer. That's going to continue again starting this Friday the 4th. We are on a full schedule for the fall, all the way through the winter, for all of the fun events. A lot of people have been talking about Hampden Fest, and it is in fact happening. It is happening on September 23rd. Yes, that is in the middle of our Artscape, and the reason is simple. It's always been our weekend, and we didn't move Artscape, they did. So we are very excited to welcome all of especially the vendors and artists who maybe can't afford being at the Artscape because it's an extremely expensive event to be a part of. And we will, of course, have all the most amazing local bands and all of the entertainment that you come to expect. So that's going to be September 23rd. October, we are returning to a full-on Halloween fest. We are actually back to doing the entire costume contest in the street, the 800 block of the Avenue. So everybody, please plan to do the amazing kinds of costumes, the families of costumes, and we will have the entire area shut down for just that time from basically from 5:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. so we can do the judging of the contest. That's October. Then we're into November. We'll have Small Business Saturday. Is going to be another big event where you can go around, shop the different local merchants, get your passport stamped, and get signed in for a raffle prize of a gigantic basket of gifties from all the Hampden merchants. And of course, then we go into December. We'll have entertainment and all kinds of fun things going on every single Saturday through the holidays. We will have drag queens, Krampus walks, the whole 9 yards. So we're very excited. We're really back in business again. And if anybody has questions or you're looking for information, it's hamdenmerchants.com. You can also contact me directly at themodestflorist@gmail.com. And we're just happy to be back in the saddle again.
Great. Thanks so much, Libby, for that. Dan, it looks like you're off of mute. Would you like to share something as well?
Yes, otherwise for Hampden Fest as well, we're likely going to be doing the Dunker booth again. And we are also allowed to have another vacant space since we're going to be having a puppet show across from us, aside from last year of Loud Noises. So otherwise, anyone that's interested to help volunteer for Hampden Fest, for HCC, please email me. I'll drop my email in the comments, chats, and talk to you soon.
Great, thanks so much, Dan. Councilman Torrance, and then over to Pastor Chet after that.
Perfect. I just want to make sure everyone got an update about the homeless encampments in Roosevelt Park. You may have noticed that some people have already left. Last Thursday, I personally went out with MOHS, BPD, mental health services, DCHD, and Rec and Parks to ask the persons to leave and accept services. We got a number of them to accept services. For the persons who are left, they've been given to August 16th to vacate the park. Once they are or have not vacated the park, we will enforce the park rules. We have now exited COVID's policy in terms of encampments now, in terms of our parks. The goal now between now and the 16th is to provide them with 3 constitutional warnings. In addition to that, as well as continue to offer them services. Once they accept, we will then have them leave at a date and time, and then DPW of Rec and Parks will go through and clean up their actual encampments. And then what will happen is, because they lived there before, we will strictly enforce the policy with the BPD as well as the security service that's there. For a number of people who have not noticed, that you have been having an influx of sheriff's officers in the area walking the park as well to help deter some of the illegal activities as well. In addition to that, I did get great news that we just finalized that you will get a brand new playground next spring in Roosevelt Park. That is, if you notice that we have not repaired the swings because they're all busted and they are rusted. So we are replacing the entire playground at Roosevelt Park. Just some good news to give you guys tonight.
Yeah, that's big. Do you know when the construction might start for that? Like when it would be out of commission?
So they're out for bid, and BL, once I get the final timeline on it, I'll be able to share with you guys when the actual reopening and everything will take place, from construction to reopening.
Great. And do you have the plans for what the playground might look like?
That's also a part of the contract too. So they'll give us
Okay.
images that we'll share with the community. At one point, when we typically do playground renovations, we actually get allowed the community to pick the colors as well.
Okay, super. Well, I look forward to connecting on that. That's great news. Good. Anything else, Councilman, before switching to some of our other partners?
That is all.
Super. Thanks so much. All right, Pastor Chet, and then if our representative from State's Attorney's Office would like to go after that. So Pastor Chet, over to you.
Thank you so much, Christina. My name is Chet Jakura, and I'm the pastor at Good Shepherd United Methodist Church on the corner of 38th and Roland. We are a small, progressive, LGBT affirming, inclusive congregation. And many of you may be aware that we've been hosting some community dinners over the past couple years for the community. It started during the pandemic as grab and go meals, but now that the pandemic is, abated a little bit, hopefully, we've been inviting folks into our church for these dinners. And so we are partnering with a local chapter of Masons, or a local lodge of Masons, Ancient Baltimore 234. They actually meet in our basement, but we're partnering with them for a community breakfast on September 30th from 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning. And these breakfasts are free to anyone and everyone in the community. There's no charge. We're not asking folks to pay to be served. Anyone in the community is welcome, people of all ages, ethnic backgrounds, gender identity, sexual orientations. It's really a wonderful opportunity for folks to come together in the space and eat. And then we like to invite folks to consider making a donation for either a local nonprofit in the community. That's TBD, so stay tuned. Hampden Family Center is one of the candidates. Or our emergency mission fund at Good Shepherd, which helps residents in the community that have fallen on hard times unexpectedly. We can help them, pay rent or If they need a refrigerator or some sort of appliance, we can raise money for that through our emergency mission fund. So just wanted to invite folks to that, spread the word. We'll be posting on our sign and on social media next door. But this is an opportunity for folks in the community to get together, eat a good meal, and do good.
Great, thanks so much for that. It's wonderful to have opportunities to connect across different in our community. So thanks so much for providing that opportunity. All right, so our representative from State Attorney's Office, Mr. Wharton, if you'd like to share next, and then following that, representative from DOT, Ms. Wallace, if you'd like to go after Mr. Wharton.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. So I don't really have much to talk about. We're still doing our I guess we call our city tour, where we're doing talking about the citation docket that State's Attorney Alvin Bates introduced a couple of weeks ago, a partnership with BPD, where we're giving out citations for the low-level crimes that the former administration was not prosecuting, but we're now prosecuting them now. So we're talking about loitering, trespassing, prostitution, simple distribution, open container, all those type of things that weren't being prosecuted. They are being prosecuted now. However, what's going to happen now is police officers have the option to give out citations for these. They'll give a warning first to move people along, but then they'll give a citation if they continue to do those crimes. Now, with that citation, they'll take the citation to one of the district courts once a month, where they'll be in front of a judge, and they're going to get probably for the first citation, they're going to get 5 hours of community service. But while they're there, and the community service is going to be done in the place where they got a citation. So if they got a citation, let's say on 36th Street, the community service will be done in the Hampden area. But while they're there, when they get the hours for a community service, they're going to be introduced to wraparound services. So Department of Social Services are going to be there, community mediations are going to be there, and other organizations that offer either people want to get job skill training, trades, get their GED, education, further education, housing, anything like that that they could possibly get to get them off of get them off the streets and stop them from doing these low-level crimes. Now, if they don't want to take advantage of the wraparound services and they don't do the community service, they get prosecuted for that crime. So it's a part of him when he ran on it. He said he wants to make sure that he prosecutes for those crimes, but also to say that, hey, also want to give a help. I want to be able to help out the community. We don't want to go into mass incarceration, so we give people chances. So that's what the citation docket's about. We've actually been in Councilman Torrance's area and Councilwoman Ramos' area, knocking on doors, visiting businesses. Right now, this week we're in District 6. So today we were just door knocking over and the Falstaff area, and I think it's Falstaff and Ricetown Road. We were knocking doors today, the whole community engagement team. So that's what we're doing right now, trying to push the citation docket to try to alleviate some of the crime. And if the businesses or even people's houses, if you have somebody loitering in front of your house, in front of your business, please call 911, 311. I would say 911 quicker so the police officer can come out, and they'll probably do a warning first. But if they continue to do it, they'll give out these citations. And the more you get the citation, so first citation is 5 hours. Second citation is 10 hours of community service. If they get it a third time, they're just looking to be prosecuted. So they're going to get prosecuted for that. That's going to lead to a more permanent, something called community court, which is going to be in the circuit court probably in 2024.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us.
I have one thing to add. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Councilman, go ahead.
Please. I know you guys seen my post in the Hampden community group as well as the lower Hampden. Please submit a victim impact statement for Danny Warren. I say this because the Northern has done yeoman's work. The detectives there have been able to merge several cases to at least show that there's a serious theft that has been occurring by Danny. There is an arrest that happened of Tiffany. We're still waiting for information on that. But please, if you need, email my office. We'll provide you the case number. Submit the victim impact. What we've had is that people have been victims but don't want to come to court, and there's no statement, so they've had to drop the charges. The state's attorney's office needs victim impact statement, so we make sure that Danny does get the appropriate time, but also the appropriate consequence for his actions. So I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. I appreciate you.
Great, thanks. If folks have questions about that, feel free to reach out to Councilman or myself to, we can give you the format that those should go in. All right.
Real quick, victim impact statements. Oh,
no, go ahead.
okay. Victim impact statements are different than community impact statements. So victim impact statements are only given from the person who was involved in the crime. So the victim fills them out. Community impact statements, anybody can fill out. So if you want to do community impact statements, I think I sent them to you before, Christina. Fill them out, get them to me, and I'll make sure they get to the ASA that's running, that's over top of the case. Victim impact statements are totally different, and ASAs actually handle those specifically with the victims of the crime.
Thanks so much for that clarification. And Councilman, are you asking for victim impact statements or community impact statements? And I know that we're, go ahead.
Victim, because Danny has 47 victims in the neighborhood. That's why I kept saying, if you're a victim, please submit it. He's had 47 victims. Let me say that again. 47 people have been victims of their crime. He's on these serious charges now, but there are past cases that were dropped, but you still can submit those actual statements because you had a dollar amount. Even if it was $20 that he stole a package. For the person who hamburger he stole, that was still a $15 hamburger from the food market that he stole. So please report it. And also, if you're a community member, I'll also add that to the Hampden group with Daryl. Please submit a community impact statement as well, because 47 people were victims. However, the broader community as well was a victim from the repeated instances.
Thanks for the clarification. I know we're in our last couple of minutes, but I really, wait, sorry, Michael, I do really want to make sure that we get to a representative from the Department of Transportation. She's been waiting so patiently.
Okay, all right.
So please feel free to put something in the chat. So over to you, Ms. Wallace.
Hello, my name is Shaquetta Wallace. I will keep this super brief and super quick. Just wanted to come and say hello. Councilman Torrance has already stolen my thunder and mentioned about the paving coming for Atomic Comics, near Atomic Comics, and that he's working on getting it pushed back to October. And so just wanted to say hello. I apologize that I have not been able to make your meetings previously, but just wanted to meet your acquaintance, and I put my information in the chat. And thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thanks, Ms. Wallace. We'll definitely be in touch. I feel like there has been a missing link with your office, so really pleased to be in closer contact with you in the future. So great. Thanks again for joining us this evening. All right, our last minute. Is there anyone else that would like to raise their hand to address the group?
Michael had a question for me.
All right, I was typing it in the chat, but it's really really simple. And I think you really addressed it, and it came up at the meeting with Acting Commissioner Worley. Well, and while I support some low-level enforcement, I just want to be clear, we're not going back to anything like the mindless zero tolerance that we had.
No, I don't think we definitely don't want to be headed that way.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of make that clear.
Yeah, thanks. We definitely don't want to be headed that way. That's why we're offering a holistic approach when it comes to the citation docket, because we also know that there are factors that lead to a lot of the crime, and sometimes somebody just needs help to do certain things. Somebody needs assistance for certain things. So that's why we added that element of the wraparound services when they come for citation docket court.
Perfect. I was just looking for balance. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much for that clarification, Michael. All right, so we're at 8, so let's go ahead and wrap up. I did want to say huge thanks to everyone for your participation on this summer evening that you could be doing many other things. I wanted to note that we are not planning on having an August meeting unless there's something urgent that comes up in our community, in which case we will identify that time for connecting with you all. So wishing you a wonderful rest of your summer. We will catch you in September, but look forward to collaborating with folks in the meantime on various things that affect our community. Y'all are the best. Take good care, everybody.